Poof. I'm exhausted.
Is that all right, guys?
That was amazing.
Okay.
That was amazing, guys. Sure hope everything was in focus. Good afternoon and welcome to the Chafed and Confused podcast with Nick and Kyle. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing super. How are you?
I'm good. Who do we have here?
Today we have two delightful guests. Mitchell is a triathlete. He's an Ironman finisher, a 70.3 Ironman finisher, multiple time 100-mile finisher. He's an adventure racer, ski tourer, and general lover of the mountains. Welcome, Mitch.
Hi.
We also have Mitch's delightful wife, Kelsey, with us today. Kelsey completed her first 70.3 Ironman last summer, and both her and Mitch have their sights on their first second Ironman for Mitch, but first for Kelsey this summer. Yeah. Welcome, Kelsey.
Thanks for having us.
Our first married couple on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
The 10 questions.
We'll start with the 10 questions. Question number 1. Pineapple on pizza, is it a yes or a no?
Yes.
I'm into it.
Yeah, perfect. Easy. Question number 2. What is your preferred sock height and why?
The higher one. What's it called?
Crew.
Crew, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love a crew sock.
Yeah, I'm the short. I like the below ankle.
He likes to show a little malleolus.
Oh, it's the it's temperature. I like to regulate my temperature with other garments and not be doubling over.
Okay.
Yeah,
Practical for me.
socks and long johns. Not
Yeah.
good.
See, I don't like to show my ankles. As we were talking about earlier.
She's not that kind of girl.
A classy lady. What book are you reading right now or have just read?
I don't read. No, I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
You can read.
I can read if I choose to. I listen to a lot of audiobooks because I spend so much time with my job just walking and not doing anything, so I have to listen to something.
Perfect.
What's the last audiobook that you listened to?
It would have been probably one of Kristen Hanna's, maybe the Women or Four Winds. I've been like really, she has a bunch of them, and I've listened to a bunch of hers.
Perfect.
Libby, I'm a big Libby app fan. Like it's a library app. I don't know.
Oh yes,
okay.
yes.
I don't know if I can plug
Yes.
other apps.
It's okay.
It is my
Alright.
favorite app, and it's just the libraries.
Perfect.
I also do not read that.
Just a couple of illiterate people.
Yeah,
Empty bookshelves in the home.
it's the audiobook thing for me too. Mine was
You got me onto that one.
yeah, I did. Children of Ash and Elm. It's like a Viking history kind of book.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I'll have to look it up. When you're training, do you like to train with friends or train alone?
I'm getting more into training with friends. I think a long time I was like a training by myself. I like training with Mitch, and when we're training for this Ironman, it's been fun to train together. But
Nice.
Yeah, I'm with friends for sure. It's there's times where I have to do it by myself because I'm doing something stupid that nobody else wants to do, but I prefer to do it with friends.
Misery loves company.
Favorite pre-race pump-up song or genre?
I'm really boring. I'm not actually into music. Pre-race for me is like nothing. I'm with my own thoughts. I'm thinking a lot about it. I'm a bit weird that way. Yeah,
All right.
It's distracting music and stuff like that. I don't like before a race. I don't want to be distracted. I'm like thinking of how I'm going to get through like the next thing that I'm about to do and whatnot. For me, when I'm training, I listen to stuff, but pre-race, cold turkey.
Okay.
Silence.
maybe a Blink-182 song,
Nice. A classic.
a classic.
Some of you sing along too.
Yeah,
Bop
because
your
I'm not
feet.
into like new music. Like I'm not very cool. So
Who is?
something that was cool 20 years ago is normally what I'm listening to.
If you could be very good at another sport, what sport would it be?
I really liked playing basketball when I was younger, and I always really liked playing basketball like in the gym at university and stuff. And it's a real male-dominated sport, and so I wish I would have been better in those situations, so I could have like really shown people up.
Dunk on all those
But I was
guys.
like very mediocre, so I was always like, oh, I'll pass. But I'd been really good. That would have been way more fun.
Mine's definitely skydiving, like free flying or whatever it is.
Yeah, like the wingsuits.
Not wingsuits,
Oh,
but
okay.
like falling out of the sky and like being upside down and like spinning around and whatever. I don't know exactly the right term for it. I like started learning how to skydive, and then COVID and access to drop zones and whatnot, and then my whole accident situation kind of stopped a lot of
A little foreshadowing.
And now I'm a metal bar.
Unbreakable.
Where's your next vacation? If you got a week off tomorrow, where would you go?
Oh, this one we can answer.
I mean,
It's equally the same.
Yeah, yeah, true.
oh, that's funny. Okay, what are you gonna say?
Well, we just booked
Yeah, I
the
was gonna say we just
TMB.
booked.
We booked France, the TMB, the
Oh,
like
okay.
the Ultra Trail.
Yeah.
around
Sweet.
Chamonix. Mont Blanc.
Yep.
Yes, we're excited for that. I think if it was tomorrow, I'd just go to a sick hut around here with guided and catered experiences. That would
Nice.
be really nice. But I am really excited for our summer holiday.
When it comes to races, chase or be chased?
Always chase. I'm like aggressively competitive, but don't like losing, obviously. So like
Previous
getting
answer.
chased is just like stressful. And I'm just like, I'm gonna lose. But chasing, I'm like, this is fun. I can probably why I've been doing this, because I'm chasing him around most of the time.
Yeah, I'm Chase as well, for
Chase.
sure.
If you could go on any adventure with someone dead or alive, who would it be, and what would the adventure be?
I think I have 3 sisters. I would try to I have a big family. There's like 16 of us, and I would try to get us all out on like some kind of hiking, like overnight hiking trip. I would love that. I have forced my sisters to do many things with me, and so I know that would not be up their alley. But like, I think like if I dreamed it up, it seems really nice in my dreams.
Nice.
Perfect.
I like the mountaineer Conrad Anker.
Yep.
I feel like he'd be a cool mentor to go out on an interesting mission with sometime, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a pretty good dude.
Great
Seen some
answer.
things.
Yeah. Favorite post-epic snack or meal?
Oh, Mitchell, my Christmas present. I'm really excited for this summer because I got a slushie machine for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
And it takes like 25 minutes to make 2 people slushies at my house. I'm going to put it on before I go for a run and then come home and have slushies all the time. So really excited about that.
Love it.
Was this like after race, post race?
Post
Yeah.
epic
Post,
snack or
yeah.
meal.
Yeah, I'm like a pizza burrito, a burrito with fried avocado in it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't even know they fried avocado.
They do.
They do it at one of
it's
our local
possible.
restaurants, and it's what he
Oh.
always
It can't
asks
be
for after
really
anything.
great for you, but man, it tastes good.
That's okay.
What? Yeah, that's not what you're looking for after an epic. Yeah. And in the world of ultra movement and getting after it, do you consider yourselves chafed or confused?
Well, by that face, probably confused. Yeah, I'm pretty confused, I think. I'm just really chasing Mitch around most times, and I'm just like, where are we even going?
Yeah, so then I'm probably chafed.
Well, we've heard some stories. You have to listen to the first podcast. We won't go into that today.
So where are you guys both from originally, and where do you live now?
So I'm from Sudbury, Ontario, nickel capital of North America.
The big nickel.
The big nickel, very, very big deal. And now I live in Revelstoke, British Columbia.
I mostly grew up in Grafton, northern New South Wales, in Australia.
The small nickel. Yeah, it's not as known. Lesser known.
Where do you live now?
Here in Revelstoke. I moved here 8 years ago.
Okay.
Lovely.
And how do you guys earn money to buy running shoes?
Oh, great time to plug my own
Yeah,
company.
there you go.
I run Kelsey's Canines, which is a Revelstoke-based dog walking company. I've been doing it since 2018. So I walk dogs,
Nice.
and dogs sit, and Mitchell gets to sleep with dogs in his bed. That's how we make most of our money.
Yes, that is fun. From someone who grew up on a farm, it's something I'm still getting used to.
Yeah, all right.
I'm an electrician. I work for a local company here in town.
Perfect. I've seen the pack running around, and it's It's intimidating until you see Kelsey come around the corner. You're like, oh yeah, this
Yeah,
pack.
we saw
There's the
you-
alpha.
We saw you on that run that one day. I was like, oh God, just keep going. Just keep going, guys.
Yeah.
It's our general consensus. We try not to see people, but that day I was being a bit bold. I was on a local,
True.
more regular trail. But
Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot of fun. We're out with the big crew Monday through Fridays. It's awesome.
Amazing.
I cross country skied 3 times today.
Oh, wow. For you.
That's how, again,
I
the
actually
work.
don't walk very much, turns out, as a dog
Yeah.
walker.
Can you guys tell us how running found you?
I guess my story would mostly start with my parents, my father probably more specifically. He did ultra endurance events back when they were kind of starting. He actually competed in the first Ironman that was held in Australia in the 80s. It was maybe 85 or something. And so I actually never saw him do a big endurance event, but because he could basically stop when I was born in my early childhood, but he was always training and doing other things, and so I think that just naturally like oozed out into me. He would be running somewhere and I'd be biking, and then in time I started just to naturally pick it up, I guess.
Yeah, I did a little bit of running when I lived in New Zealand, but really getting together with Mitch really started. I was like, I either need to start running or I get left behind. And what he was doing was really cool. And I was like, there's actually, Mitch has a really great ability to make things seem a lot more approachable and doable than they are. Like I ran a 50K way before I should have, but not in like a dangerous way, just in like a I know people think about running a 50K for years, and my husband was just like, you can do this. Don't be stupid. And let's just do it. And so
Yeah.
I did it. And I think that that's just how it kind of happened for me, was I just got together with him and he told me to keep doing it. So I did.
There you are. And now
So-
you're doing an Ironman.
It's the one time I listened to him, I guess.
How did you two meet?
We met in Revelstoke.
Okay. Yeah.
Mitch was removing a hot tub on a rental I was staying at, and I was suntanning in the backyard. And he came creeping out from under my house, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing here, bud?"
Who's that handsome gremlin
I
crawling?
was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Sophie, go inside. We only need one of us out here, thank you."
Amazing.
That's very cute. Can you talk about the role of being active and being outside, the role that has in your lives?
Well,
Yeah.
Kelsey, you went cross country skiing 3 times today.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of what our life really
Yeah.
pivots around, really, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
I was gonna say it's everything. It's why we live here. It's my job. It's our after jobs. It's our free time. I think when you live in a place like this, it's just so accessible to be outside and be playing and be having fun and be being physically active. Like I went cross country skiing 3 times today, but in 3 different places.
Yeah.
Were they all great? No, but it's called adventure skiing for a reason, it's so much of our relationship. Like it's how Mitch and I stay connected and have fun and show our love for each other is by going and doing fun things outside, I think.
Yeah, we really find joy in all forms of play and have found partners, each other that enjoy that, and experiencing it together. So yeah, it really just is almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be extreme, but
Yeah. Well, you don't read or, so.
yeah, we don't read or listen to music, so that is what we're doing. We play outside.
That's another thing too. We talk a lot on our adventures, and it's
Yeah.
it's therapeutic. It's how we kind of
It's like how we
process our
reconnect.
relationship, and
Yeah, when you're walking for 12 hours together, you have to talk, especially when there's bears around, which is always what I make the excuse. I'm sure there's bears here. Let's just talk.
Can you tell us about your accident a few years ago? Can you talk about the day that it happened?
So we were just doing a small adventure, gravel biking, and we pulled into a pathway that was sort of an arterial pathway heading into a town, and I pulled off the pathway and went into a skate park whilst on my gravel bike, and kind of rolled through the skate park, but then went on kind of one of the corner pedestal ramps that is at a skate park. Instead of turning and going back into the skate park, I rolled straight off the back of it and went completely head over and landed on top of my head and broke my neck and landed in the park field on the other side of the skate park. That moment, I couldn't feel anything from anywhere. It was a really weird sensation. I remember being kind of still folded in my bike, and I felt a sensation, something sort of moving, which I only assume now was like my breath or something. And I remember calling out to Kelsey because she was nearby, and I told her not to freak out, but I couldn't feel anything and that she needed to call an ambulance. And then it was just the process of waiting for the ambulance and slowly getting put into the vehicle, transported to the hospital.
And what injury did you sustain? What happened to your body?
So I dislocated C7, which it fractured the top corner of T1 and the bottom back corner of C7, also fracturing C7 in a number of other ways. I don't know exactly the extent of them. And then I also damaged my spinal cord higher up around C4. To what extent, no one knows. And so, that after I was put in a spine board, transported to Penticton, flown out to Vancouver. Vancouver had the discussion about surgery, and they basically decided that they needed to fuse all of my vertebrae from C2 to T2, skipping C7 because that one was the most damaged. They couldn't screw into it. And then they did a laminectomy, which is chopping the back part of the vertebrae out to relieve the spinal cord.
So, Kels, when Mitch told you not to freak out, to what level did you freak out?
I freaked out so bad. Mitchell's like all of our calmness, and so and I'm all of our non-calmness, and I freaked out so bad. Like I just started screaming in the park, like aggressively. Luckily, that like got a couple people to come over to us, which ended up helping a lot. There was a man who I'm sure had big life struggles. I probably was living in the park, and he came over to me, and I'm sure like that wasn't an easy thing for him to do. And he said, like, what can I do for you? And my parents were on e-bikes, and Mitchell left out the part of the story that I was the one that let him into the skateboard park. So I was really close by because I was in front of him. I did turn though. So the man came over to me, and I just say, like, you need to find my parents. They're on white e-bikes. They're like, my mom's a short little lady. Like, you need to go find him. And he ran off, and my parents showed up like 10 minutes later. So he clearly like did what he needed to do. And I like have always appreciated that person so much. And when I was freaking out, a little lady came over, a little blonde lady. She was like quite small, and she was fabulous. And she like helped me call 911 because I was freaking out. And there was this man who like came over and like really like had the energy that he was gonna fix this, and he like ran over with like his hands up, and he's like, he needs help. I know CPR. And I like looked at this little lady, and like this man was quite a large man, and I was like, your job now is to stop that man from touching my husband. No matter what, that guy doesn't come near me. I don't know what happened to him, but he disappeared. So that lady like clearly did her job.
You found the right people.
I found the right people. But like, yeah, I freaked out so bad. And then my parents came back, and they did a decent, I think my mom freaked out a decent amount for sure. But honestly, the paramedics that showed up, whose name I thought about all day today, and now I'm blanking on. But I think, what was his name? Oh my God, can't remember. Anyways, I think he saved, like he was one of the factors when people ask me like, why do you think Mitch survived this? And why do you think Mitch was like one of the people that was able to have this miracle. Like, I think that paramedic was one of the reasons.
Yeah, definitely.
He was incredible. And like, there was a junior paramedic there who also was like doing his thing, but like this guy, like the junior paramedic, you could tell wasn't very confident. And the guy just like stopped the whole thing and was like, I'm leading now, get it, like do this. And like, I think there was like 5 or 6 firefighters that came in, and he just did his thing. And like, you know, when someone's really good at their job, if you watch Kelsey's Canines, you see time on Instagram.
Incredible drop. Incredible.
Yeah, just a couple drops. No, like he was just so good at his job. Like he just, I think there were a couple big game changers, and he was there and he helped me not freak out as much. And we got Mitch to he actually went to Oliver, and then he went to Penticton, and then he went to Vancouver. So it was like lots of transportation. He stuck with us for most of the time. So, but yeah, a good amount of freaking out. I'm
Amazing.
very loud, so. Good loud freak out.
So you had the surgery in Vancouver, and then you wake up. What's going on when you wake up?
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess having the surgery, it was very hard for me to be convinced that I needed it, and so I was still a bit down. I think coming out of it. Obviously drugs and everything as well, I was a bit like not sure that I needed it and that was what I should have done, but I didn't know enough or any more. And so I think at the start of it, it's you're so swollen, you can't, I could barely breathe, I couldn't swallow, so I had nose tubes, I had just tubes everywhere because they were very concerned about my airway. Everything was still so swollen around the neck that I was still in.
He was in a coma for 36 hours after, like, surgery took like 5 or 6 hours, and then he was in a coma for another 36 hours while the swelling came down. And then you were in ICU for another like 24 hours, and then an ICU step down ward for 2.5 weeks after that. But yeah, they were really concerned about his breathing, so they kept him intubated for almost 40 hours by the end of it.
Yeah, and the step down ward, that's the one I spent excuse me, a lot of time in, I guess because of the specialty of the spinal injury or whatever. It's kind of like ICU but slightly less. They have 2 patients per nurse, but I'm heavily monitored kind of thing. And so I was there for a long time and really couldn't do much except for just try and deal with the drugs. I really struggled with the pain meds.
Yeah,
it really messed with my head.
The first week, he really, like, he didn't move his arms or legs at all. He really just was so high. He was so high on drugs, and he really didn't do very well with the pain drugs. Like,
yeah, it wasn't a fun high. It was like scary. I couldn't deal with it. It was strange. I do remember one time, I guess, either the nurse or yourself and the nurse came to me and I was coming to, but like babbling on with some story. I thought that I was like doing electrical wiring on the roof.
I remember you telling me that.
he had rewired the entire hospital.
Yeah,
it was
like,
very busy. He wanted us to leave him alone.
Yeah, I was, even when I thought about the details afterwards, I remember saying it, I was like, that just makes no sense. I had a lot of that. I had a lot of just struggling with what was going on and not really knowing what was going on at the same time.
Yeah, I think the first week was pretty much just like not, like he wasn't really there. Like he was in and out. It was like really just a drug cycle where they were trying to figure out what pain med was the best for him. And that was a hard cycle. Like they actually, they had to go through a lot of different, like we went through the morphines and the fentanyl and all the Oxycontins and all those things, and they were just all too much for him, and so they actually got him down to methadone, which isn't a very common pain reliever, but so it took them a long time to figure that out, and then it takes a long time to figure out the levels of that, and so the first week was really just like he was in bed and not really there very much. I don't think Mitch really, like he said he didn't want the surgery. He didn't really understand how serious it was when it happened, which I think is fair. Like, really, we had been up that morning to bike at 7 a.m. or something, and then it happened at 2 p.m. and we really hadn't eaten enough or drinking enough during the day of biking, and then we stayed up constant until he got surgery at 6 a.m., which, again, one of the factors that I think made the difference is that we got surgery so quickly, and we got surgery with if you're in Vancouver, you'll know that the spinal ward is named Dr. Kwan's spinal unit, and Dr. Kwan was there that day at 6 a.m. to do the surgery, and I think that made all the difference. But basically, they came to us before the surgery and said because Mitch was like, "Do I need this? Do I need this?" Can't move his arms or legs, but do I need this? And the doctor looked at us and was like, "If you get the surgery, you'll be able to wiggle your fingers and toes like you're currently doing, and if you don't get the surgery, you'll be a quadriplegic. But either way, this isn't good, and you're not going to be okay." And I even that, I don't think Mitch ever accepted that, which possibly also is one of the reasons that he is where he is today. I don't know, but yeah, I think we hadn't eaten or drinking or slept in a long time, and it was a really big decision, but it was all 100% necessary, and there was no other option at all. But that was hard to take at the time because
certainly. What did they say? One of the scary things was we hope that what you have right now. So I'm laying in a spine board, can barely move my fingers and toes. At that point, I had started to be able to see that I can wiggle my fingers and toes. And so that was at least a bit of a reference oh, okay, I haven't completely destroyed everything. Still not really understanding what it means. But when I was still in the park, I couldn't even wiggle anything. And that was really scary. After because sensation did eventually come back. But the doctor said, we hope that the state that you're in right now, we're going to do surgery, and it's not going to be worse than that. You're going to at least be able to have this.
Their hope was that would be best case scenario. Was him lying on the spinal cord. He was like, okay. Real negative Nellies, to be honest.
That was a scary one.
And what were you feeling, Kelsey, watching all of this?
Yeah, it was devastating. I mean, the first week was hard. It was just drugs and craziness and not sleeping. And I stayed in the hotel, in the hospital room with him for the first 7 days. And I mean, that was a nightmare. But
well, she didn't read a single book.
I didn't read a single book that entire freaking time.
Talk to me.
Yeah. I was like, hello, are you there? It was a great chat that time. He was passed out cold. It was bad. No, it was horrible. But I think what came next was really inspiring and incredible. And, the step down ICU is a really crap place to be. I would never recommend it to anyone. It is such a bummer. And there's a lot of people having huge struggles. And so for the first week, it was I was in there with those people having all the same struggles. And it was so sad. And Mitch really wasn't there. And we were far away from everyone we knew. And we were in Vancouver. So really there wasn't an option for people to come, because where do you go? I'm staying in a hospital bed. If you come, you figure that out for yourself, because I got enough going on, So that was hard at first, but I was really lucky that I got a place to stay in Vancouver for free from one of my clients whose friend needed a cat sitter for the 3.5 weeks. That was the exact amount of time that Mitch happened to be in the hospital in Vancouver. So I had a house to myself in Vancouver, about it was a 28-minute bike ride, because I got on that city bike thing, and I would get on the bike, and it was great. It worked out so well. So I got really lucky that way. And then also in the first week of Mitch being in hospital, one of my sisters flew out to spend a couple of days with me, probably about 5 days in, and that was a big game changer. And then I had the support of my community. Revelstoke's a pretty special town, and I have some really amazing friends. I had some great visitors through it all, and I really felt supported. So, I mean, I felt like it was really crappy, but as terrible as it was, I got as much support as I could, and it turned around pretty quickly in comparison to what else we saw while we were there. So, it was funny. Just yesterday, we were out ski touring with a friend who he happened to be passing through Vancouver probably about a week after the accident happened. And that's probably when we started to see Mitch change a little bit, and they got the drugs under control, and so then he could start taking over his recovery a little bit more. And so he came in, I think, right at day 6 or 7, and I finally got away. He stayed with Mitch, so I go to have a shower, and so that was great. And then I came back, and he went away to Whistler, and then he came back 5 days later, and the difference was incredible. There was so much change in that time. And that day he came in, and it was the first day that we all laughed together and we smiled together, and Ben came and he's on the bed and we like all hung out, and Mitch was like kind of conscious again because the drugs had kind of leveled out, and so like that, I always think of that day as like kind of like, oh yeah, but it turned around, and like there was tons of hard days after that, of course, but in comparison to what was going on around us, we felt really fortunate.
Yeah, I think it was about at that week was when a lot of the swelling went down, and so that's when the spinal cord kind of said, "You're okay," a little bit to me, for sure. I remember waking up one day and my legs, like they felt a lot more normal. I could feel, it felt like my hips freed up or something. I don't know. It was strange. And it was definitely because the swelling had just gone down enough that, yeah, I guess there was more communication going on in the nerves or whatever.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like your progression from where you were then to like starting to use your body again?
The biggest thing that was hindered was I lost use of my upper body. My legs did come back, and that's where we started to understand that where I was at was obviously not quadriplegic, not paraplegic, just some level of nerve damage that hindered heavily the use of my upper body. I still will never know the exact extent of the damage, but basically I couldn't lift my arms at all against gravity. I had grip strength to what extent I'm not 100% sure at that time, and I could kind of do some light bicep curls. I was stronger on my...
I feel like your non-dominant side, because I remember we came and had dinner with you, and you had to pick up your dominant hand to put it near your face to like scratch your face or do something.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
actually do think that's true. You did do a lot of
So
like.
it's my left arm was stronger, so I could do more with my left arm, but my right shoulder was stronger. And this is all what I started to learn and understand as my rehab evolved. And so, yeah, to begin with, I could walk my left arm up the wall a little bit with my fingertips, but I had to support my right arm. Kelsey supported it originally. And at that stage, it was like we weren't sure, physios weren't sure what damage was done. They were just looking for any signs.
Like, I think it's hard for the doctors because so few people, like they would say that Mitch is the 1%, right? So like I called them negative Nellies earlier, but I think they kind of have to be negative Nellies because the odds are you're not going to get better. And so it was funny because they just kept being like, yeah, that you're doing great. Like, just be grateful. Like Mitch would be like, okay, well, what do you think is going to happen next? And they'd be like, I think you're killing it. So, like they were just like, they were so shocked every day. That was like one of the fun things, I guess, about it was like watching their faces. Because they just like it was like they just didn't believe it. Like that just wasn't what was supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to get out of bed. He wasn't supposed to move his legs. He wasn't supposed to move his arms. And so like they would do things like one day I have a video of him like building a little Jenga thing, and one side is working better than the other knee. Like he's like, well, when is his other hand gonna start doing that? Like what can we do to make that better? And she's like, dude, like just be so thankful. But Mitchell, like really, like I just don't know that he ever believed that he wasn't gonna be that he wasn't gonna recover. Like he just put mind over matter in a lot of it, and it was always funny because his expectations versus the nurse's expectations were so polar opposite.
Yeah, I guess I was always like analyzing and trying to understand what I needed to do to get progress or whatever, and having like imbalances was really confusing, because there was no real understanding like why the imbalance was there, how much of it was like atrophy just from being in the hospital, how much of it was surgical damage from being sliced open in the back of my neck, or how much of it was from the accident itself. There were just so many uncertainties. And I guess it took me a while to like sit in that or accept that and understand that. And I guess I just eventually got to the point where I just settled in, I just have to do something, whatever it is, and just keep pushing myself. And that's why the nursing my other hand was helpful, because it allowed me to see the muscle fibers firing, but also progress, even though I was cheating a little bit. And I guess that was kind of like all of my rehab was one arm would be stronger than the other doing something and I would do it. And then my other arm, I would try and make it catch up. And first it was just lifting my forearm off the bed. Then it was lifting a piece of PVC pipe.
Yeah, big bench presses with the PVC pipe.
Yeah. And yeah, lifting blocks, trying to like use a dishcloth on a sliding surface, trying to work like rotator cuff type
Tried
stuff.
to avoid that a lot, like proving that he could use the dishcloth. Like, no, I don't know, it's one thing.
I tried cleaning the bathroom, it just didn't work.
Still to this day, everything else works. He still can't use the bathroom.
Yeah, and it was just step by step, and I don't really remember. It's hard thinking back, trying to think of like milestone times where things changed, because the whole time it was happening, it didn't feel like anything was changing.
Right.
It just felt like I was always at the start, but I obviously wasn't. It did change in time. It's just like when you're in it, it's so hard to see it. And I think that's where I guess the thinking about just having to do something, whatever it was, I guess that's what got through it. I don't really know.
How long ago was this?
It was September 23.
Okay.
So 2 and a bit years ago.
It's only, yeah.
When it happened and you were in hospital, you've come off the drugs, you're starting to feel a bit like yourself. Did you have a picture in your mind of something that you wanted to get back to? Were you like, oh, I'm going to get back to my life, or I'm going to get back to this? Like, could you perceive, like, did you have something that you wanted to get back to? Or was that just, you have no idea? Yeah,
it was definitely, we definitely discussed this a lot, trying to come to terms with it. I feel like that's the majority of the conversation revolved around coming to terms with what might be. And I don't know if I ever really thought, it was either I didn't think of something that I wanted to get back to, or I didn't ever consider not being able to get back to something very close to. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I think the expectation, like, again, they weren't trying to be negative Nellies, but it just like that. I think that's it's the safer option is to be a little bit more negative. So like their expectations were so low that we were trying to keep our expectations, I think, a bit lower, and things were also changing so quickly that like we just weren't thinking about it. Like, you know, for the 3.5, I think Mitch was almost in Vancouver for about 4 weeks, and like for 3 weeks of that he was on a feeding tube still. And like not drinking water, because swallowing is one of the most complex things the human body does, and like very dangerous after a spinal cord accident. And so like when you can't even eat solid food, what are you like? It's harder to set your goals, I think. But yeah, so I think that the expectation was just so low, and every day was just so incredible how much better he was getting. I'm kind of thinking about, like, I posted once on Facebook about it, and we were like 2 or 3 weeks into it when I posted, and in it I said, like, our lives will never be the same, but they'll always be full of adventure and love. And to be honest, our lives are very similar to what they used to be. Like, not like that's, I mean, maybe that's a kind of like you're a slower snowboarder.
He's not as good. He's not as good on his toe edge.
He's a bit slow, but like honestly, he's faster than me at everything. So it's fun to be faster than him on the ski hill now. You know?
Do you think that the fact that you had this big life before the accident, that helped you get back to that big life? Like, imagine that you were someone who played video games and sat on the couch. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, you wouldn't have had to do much to get to a point where you could continue doing that life. But when you have this big life of, you know, doing these ultra distant things and adventuring in the mountains, it's like, you want to get back to that. Like, that's very motivating.
Yeah, I think it's certainly, and this is maybe a bit subconscious, I don't know if I necessarily thought about this and thought that it would help and affect this situation, but reflecting on it, I certainly do think that my mindset, having been involved in endurance sports and the steps along the way to getting to the ability to be able to achieve something like that, certainly probably contributed to the 100% of my ability to get through the recovery, for sure. It's hard to think like me in my mind and what's going on with me and what it like looks like and is presented like. I'm not 100% sure that I can like understand both of them. I feel like in my mind, I was maybe trying to accept things and knew that there was a job that had to be done and had to focus on that task. I feel like in endurance sports, you've kind of, I don't know if the best word for it, but it's like having small wins. You compartmentalize or something. It's like you set small goals and you achieve that. And I feel like that's what I naturally did develop through training and preparing myself for endurance events. And I feel like subconsciously, I feel like that's how I approached my recovery, was the same thing. I couldn't think about the big picture, leading to your question before about did I have some image of something that I wanted to get to or to get back to or something. I think in part that is kind of there, but I feel like just the same way as you've got 100 miles ahead of you to run, that was ahead of me. But what I was thinking about at the time was, the first 10K kind of deal.
Where's the next aid station?
Yeah, it's almost like you take this big idea in endurance sports and you deconstruct it into its pieces, and then it's digestible.
Yeah.
And having that skill that you already possessed for many years seems to like have served you incredibly well.
Yeah. Without knowing that that's what was happening, I certainly do believe that was the case, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, it's hard to talk about sometimes about like why did Mitch become the 1%? Because you never want to belittle anyone that didn't become the 1% of people that recovered, right? And so you don't want to say like, oh, it's because he had the mental ability, and because that kind of belittles other people, and that's Mitch got very lucky with the type of spinal cord accident he had. But I also think that like not giving credit to Mitchell and the mental abilities that he showed in those couple months and in the years that have followed, like it also is very impressive. And watching him, even when all the nurses were saying like just accept it and just like not so like I don't want to make it sound like they're being negative, but they like you just don't want to give people false hope when you watch day in day out people not get any better, right? And so you don't want to tell a couple like, yeah, you'll probably be running marathons again when like 99% of people don't ever walk again. So like, but I do think that like he just put his mind on the goal of like recovery in general and just like head down and kept going and didn't let the noise affect him. And even in times where like, I think I was a bit like, okay, but maybe we should just be happy with this. Like he was like, no, we'll just see what tomorrow brings. And like, we'll just keep working on it. And so I think that came from like, it's kind of the same vibe that I got watching him in the ultra marathons that he's done.
I mean, I also feel like you were a huge part of that. Like you were his support. And that I think
I did force my way in. Yeah.
I mean, I remember Mitch telling me the story about it happening, and it's like he hits the ground, he can't feel anything below his neck, and his first thought is, I don't want Kelsey to freak out. Like you guys like do so much to support each other. Like that's a huge component of you doing what you've done together.
Don't make me cry. No, it is like we do. We're each other's support teams 100%, and like I mean.
It was pretty wild. Like Kelsey did spend a month in the hospital with me, like by my side. It was pretty impressive, and I'm super, super grateful. I like annoyed the crap out of her, laying in the bed and like my little nose prongs for the oxygen, and
all
like
the nose prongs.
Because my throat was swollen and I couldn't like fall asleep. Because when I'd fall asleep, it would like close my airway and wake me back up, and I was like trying to get a comfortable way to sleep, and I kept asking for them to move the nose prongs so the oxygen would force past my windpipe and I could actually get to sleep. And so I'd be like, Kelsey, can you move it? And she'd move it again.
And he was like,
Kelsey, can you move it?
Like he was at 100% oxygen. Which like that's not even, people don't even get to 100% oxygen like when they're living their daily lives, the nurses would tell me, and they'd be like, he's at 100%.
Yeah.
We can't do anything. And I'd be like, okay. And then he'd come and be like, can you move the nose prongs? I'd be like, yeah, no problem. Can you move the nose prongs? Yeah, no problem. Like 2 a.m. in the morning. Like, up the nose they go.
And when I was freaking out with the drugs and stuff, like she was there the whole time. And so, and like even all the way, like we flew together to Vancouver. We flew back to I went to rehab in Kelowna.
I got you into the rehab room. I think like people, it's funny. I've had a lot of conversations with people and even some friends that have been like, I couldn't do that for my significant other. And I think when you're in the situation, you just do. Like, hopefully you put people in your life that are going to treat you well. And I think that if you treat people well, then they'll treat you well. And I have an incredibly supportive husband that's helped me do so many incredible things in my life and will continue to help me do so many important things in my life. And like, that's what you do, you know? My parents have been together since they were 14 and 16 years old. And that's the kind of relationship that they've always had, is that like, they've always been there for each other. And I think if that's the kind of marriage that I want, then that's what you have to do. And I mean, he really pushed it a little bit by asking for that much, but he proposed to me about like less than a month before, maybe 2 months before you broke your neck. So
Yeah, that's true.
it's almost like he like
He knew.
he knew. Yeah, I got a ring on it. I was like, now I can break him.
I need a hospital buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just show up for people.
Mitch, can you talk a little bit about, so you're in hospital, how long was it for your transition from when this all went down to when you could go back to your own home?
He spent 4 weeks just under 4 weeks in Vancouver, and then just over 2 weeks in Kelowna. So it was about 6 weeks from when we left to when he came home.
And when did you decide? You set a goal. You set a goal to run a marathon. When did that happen?
I guess I actually planned to not set a goal.
Oh.
This was actually the first time.
The old counter goal. The old opposite.
It's because
Not to ruin what you're going for.
Purely because the problem I have is if I set a goal, it like tends to be lofty and I challenge myself. And the idea was to like not allow myself to force myself to do too much. It was like trying to figure out a way to scale it back when I was thinking about trying to build it up. And that was a really strange experience. And so what I mean by that is I had to start from scratch to run again. So I got a really awesome program from a physio friend of ours, and I did a run-walk program to slowly build up. And that was kind of like, that was the goal. Focus on that plan, not think about trying to get to something just yet, because I actually had some really crazy stuff going on in my body. I would have like these weird shock waves run down my spine.
He had a bunch of nerve damage, like spinal cord damage is all nerves, right? And so he had nerve damage when it happened and had a lot of like funny feelings and tingling.
Yeah, I remember you feel like you still feel the metal, and you're getting used to this new
Some hardware.
Talk about your new
exoskeleton.
uses. Remember? We use it to sleep on now.
Oh yeah, I can fall asleep in any kind of height backrest chair because it's built in that if I just tilts my head back, it doesn't go back, and I'm just like stuck there. And now lots of people are getting photos of it.
He falls asleep a lot.
Yeah.
But no, it's it took me a while before I wanted to set a plan. My first summer was just kind of like get back to it, and I did do a backyard ultra.
You ran
which
38
is-
kilometers like within 6 months of your breaking of your neck.
Yeah. So that's what
It's
we
slow.
did. The
It's not a
backyard ultra
marathon
was
though either, so.
Yeah. Don't give him that credit.
Yeah.
It's true, actually, because Emily, I was trying to impress Emily, and we ran 40 kilometers that day because we finished at the 38, which is when Mitch stopped, and I was like, oh, I have to do 40 for training. And so I ran it with her. So I always say that to Mitch. I was like, yeah, you did well.
Yeah.
It's just not quite as well.
Yeah, that was the goal, to beat the buzzer, and I think that's what we spoke about last time. Eventually, that became the goal, was do the beat the buzzer. It was deliberately governed at 6 laps because it had that ability you could pay slightly less and cap yourself at 6 laps. So I deliberately did that to cap my goal. And yeah, I slowly built up to do that first.
And
Pretty incredible.
when you did that, were you like celebrating inside, or you were like, oh, I'm just checking off the milestone on my path to more?
Yeah, it was just a stepping stone. It was the underlying.
I think that's why it wasn't a goal. It was just a run.
Yeah.
He just went out for a 38K run 6
was
months
just,
after he couldn't move any part of his body.
It was a systems
No big
check.
deal.
Systems
Yeah.
check.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was just make sure my legs can still work, and then it was like, now I got to figure out how to use my arms again.
Right.
That's
When-
why we went to the triathlon.
Okay. So the triathlon was the inspiration. So when did you start to really, do you think, like, get that upper body back to a level of Mitch's needs?
Honestly, you could still beat him up probably pretty easy.
I mean, I was never worried before.
I think I've only just got to like being at a competent swimming level. And I mean, that maybe sounds a bit silly because we did a half Ironman last year, but it took.
Man knows how to undersell.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm barely at a competent swimming level and I'm all good. So
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I can not really remember, but it would have been at least, it was 7 months before I could lift my arms, full range of motion, whatever my new range of motion is, which is pretty close to being the
Full.
standard person. Yeah.
You can
Average
give a good high five
mobility.
now.
Yeah, I can definitely high five now. 7 months I could lift my arms against gravity with no weight. And so then swimming was probably, like at least another 6 months after that to be able to sort of swim a reasonable lap.
Yeah, I think you're about a year before you went swimming for the first time, and then.
Yeah. Because it's, and still my weakness is lifting my arms kind of back, like in a fly position.
How do you breathe? Because you can't turn your head that well.
It's like,
Oh,
honestly,
it's-
I'm sure people watch him and are just like, this man needs lessons. Just like throwing his
Yeah.
whole body all over the
My
place.
swimming technique is
It's really impressive that he can do a
Yeah,
half
yeah.
iron and that kind of swim.
It's very terrible, but I don't care. I don't have the option
He's really
to
good
care.
at spotting though, because he can't put his head down.
So you're training, both of you, for an Ironman this summer,
Yep.
and you booked tickets to France for UTMB.
Well, just to do the run, like we're doing the hut to hut.
You're gonna do the hut tut, okay?
Yeah, so we'll do
Yeah.
it over four days. Is that over?
4 nights, 5
4
days.
nights.
Nice. Okay.
Who's gonna win the Ironman?
Mitch's, which is so annoying because I'm training so much harder than he is. Mitch convinced me last year when we were doing training for our half iron that I was gonna win.
He was scared.
He
I
was
feel
really
like he
scared.
was
He
legitimately
got
scared.
in my head, and then we did our Olympic distance just in Rugby by ourselves. And he's an incredibly fast runner, like annoying.
He is a very fast runner.
Very fast runner. And here's the thing: I'm a better swimmer, but that gives me like 5 extra minutes. When you're a faster runner, that gives you time. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, he just turned it on the run and passed me, like running faster than I could ever run. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I'm gonna beat him. I just have to stay with this pace. And then I nearly died, and I cried at the end of my Olympic distance triathlon because I was like, I just dying. Like, what is happening? But it's because he psyched me out the opposite way. He gave me too much confidence.
I remember seeing you riding your bike that day that you guys were doing that in town. I think I like waved at you. I don't think you saw me at all. You were
I
just like
was
head down,
determined.
going.
I was like, screw this man. He beats me all the time. He literally is a year and a half outside of like not being able to use his body. I'm beating him. I didn't beat him. I lost by 17 minutes.
Should have put a
in our
stick in
half iron.
his, should have put a stick in his spokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He
did
told
that
you.
2.5 years ago.
It's funny, because we did 2 laps of Airport Way, I was obviously behind Kelsey from the swim, and every time we turned around, there was a few turning points. I timed from when Kelsey passed me to when I got to the turnaround point, and I knew that I was like ever so slightly gaining on her.
He's so nice, isn't he?
I'm sure that he was cheering you on as he passed you, but
Yeah.
then he's like, okay, 1 Mississippi, 2
That's
Mississippi.
the worst part is he runs by me and goes, doing great, babe. Leave me alone.
And
So I
what-
think he'll win. I think he'll win the real Iron, the full Ironman, but
Are
I
you doing
think we'll both do well.
Are you doing a registered one, or are you doing the classic Mitch in town?
No, for this one we're gonna do the real one in Ottawa.
Ottawa,
I thought
nice.
if I'm gonna put this much time into training for something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign up.
Pay
for
money for it.
Actually, yeah, pay a lot of way
pay
too
oodles
much
of money
money
for it.
So stupid. We're losers, but yeah, we're gonna do it in Ottawa, and it's fun. My family's from Ontario, so they'll come out and watch us and make a weekend out of it.
Sweet. Come down from the Big Nickel.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be really fun, and it's a cool race because you're running around Parliament and in the canal, and
I'm worried about the river swim because
It's dark and murky.
well, no, it's a current thing.
no, it's on the beach. I haven't looked at the race enough.
But it's
Really,
still a river,
it's like a
isn't it?
beach off to the side. I think you're fine.
We'll see. I just remember watching the Olympics and then they were swimming against the current. Everyone's like right off on the side, like hugging the shore to try and keep away from the current.
Yeah.
Because I'm obviously not a good swimmer. That's my biggest fear.
And Kelsey's going to throat chop you at the start line. We know that's going to happen.
Definitely that time.
Mitch, are you just sitting at home on the couch and you're just like, it's hard to believe like where you've come back to?
Yeah, that has happened a few times for sure. I try to force it sometimes to check in because I obviously have this tendency to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and I have to like force myself to reflect that way. And I definitely have sometimes. And certainly since Kelsey and I have done a few adventures just in the last 12 months, the half being one of them, it's brought up a few moments where I did, you asked that question before, if I was like had a goal or somewhere I wanted to be, and whilst I tried to not think about it then, reflecting now, I have had those moments where I think like, this is cool. I am mostly back to where I wanted to be. I'm if I'm not there yet, I'm near enough. I did an Ironman before, 9-distance triathlon before. This is kind of going to be the official like check, like I am back again in the swimming, biking, running kind of thing, and then I'm going to get back on the running train and find some other big adventures to go. So I'm not quite there yet. I haven't ticked it all off to, in my mind, get myself back to where I am, but certainly we've done lots of things that's made me realize like our life is not as far away from what it used to be, and that's pretty special. That's the goal, really. That was the goal.
Well, sounds like we're all wearing Hawaiian shirts at Sinister 7 crew and the ladies this summer.
I mean, to see you guys get married was pretty special. Like, to see you recover to the point where, like, you guys could get married, that was pretty amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, I think I often watch Mitchell and just kind of think like, holy crap, like we're so lucky. And like I'm so lucky. Like, our wedding was such a special, like it was so fun. And I made everyone cry with my speech, but everything I said and I meant like everything that happened to Mitch and his recovery. Again, and it's hard to talk about because I saw a lot of other people in the spinal ward, and you don't want to belittle anyone, but like what this man has done has been incredible. Like, it did feel like, holy crap, our whole lives have changed. And then it just felt like Mitch decided like, no, our whole lives are not changing. We have the dream life. We're going to get it back. And he just worked his ass off and he did it. And I'm so thankful for that. Because not everyone, I don't think not everyone could do that. It's not that I don't think, I know that not everyone can do that. And we do live the dream life, asking us earlier, how much is nature? Nature's everything. Like, our lives are incredible. Like, living in Revelstoke is such a special experience that I don't want everyone to get to experience, because then it wouldn't be like this. But I do because everyone, like, it's just a better life. Like, I have a better life, and not to be braggy, but I have a better life than you know. But like, I often turn to my friends and I say, like, it's so fun to be this kind of adult, and we almost lost that. We almost lost being able to be this kind of adult. And then my husband decided that, hell no, that's not what's happening here. And just fought like an animal to get us back. And we had some amazing, like moments. We had a great surgeon. We had a great paramedic. We got surgery really quick. There were so many other things. But the fact that we still get to keep living our dream life, and we got to, ski powder this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and we get to have our friends, and we get to have our big wedding with our friends in the bush, and we didn't have to worry about all the difficulties that come with accessibility. like we're so lucky, and I'm so thankful that we get to keep living this way.
Mitch did a bit of stuff. Yes, good work.
High five.
Thank you guys so much for your time. At the end of the episode, we always like to ask, if there's something that you guys have both learned on this journey from Mitch's injury that could help someone who, maybe they've had an injury of their own, or maybe they're just going through a hard time in their life. What's something that you could share that helped you guys keep going?
I would say, actually, maybe I won't answer your question. I think my advice to somebody, is if you find somebody like Mitch in your life that you can link onto and can make your life better, that's what you want in a partner, and to just do it. 8 years ago when I met Mitch, I wasn't doing any of the things that I do now. Not any of the things, I was, but just, those funny videos, you're like, how my husband does things and how I do things. And it's like that crappy song. That was me always on the crappy song. just doing things really basic, which is fine. But then I got to meet a man who pushed me and supported me. And I mean, I guess that was most evident when he was recovering, but I guess if you ever find someone like that in your life, to link on, don't be scared that you can't come up to who they are, because they're just going to make you a lot better. And I think that's what Mitch has done in our lives, and post-surgery, that's what Mitch has continued to teach me, is just you can keep figuring it out,
Yeah, I certainly have reaped the benefits of having a partner that is driven and willing to challenge themselves and go on this journey with me that I struggle to do anything but do. But I think just personally about the injury, I feel like, I guess for me it was just shrink it down, the compartmentalization, focus on something that's achievable, because then the world and whatever you're challenging yourself with doesn't seem so scary. I feel like that certainly helped me, specifically for, getting through such an ordeal for myself personally, but us as a couple. I think Kelsey's answer was really pretty special and correct. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you put a bow on that one, but thank you very much for your time, guys. That was incredible. And we look forward to seeing you on the start line and hear about your race this summer.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
We are
Chafed
and confused.